Hey guys, Pierre from Into Fly Fishing, and welcome to another fly tying tutorial. In the vise today I've got a fly called a Gurgler, an excellent topwater pattern for both fresh and saltwater fish. The tools you need to tie the Gurgler is a vise, a bobbin holder, a pair of sharp scissors, a whip finishing tool, and a bodkin or a toothpick to apply some head cement or super glue. So the first step is to secure a hook in the jaws of your vise. You'll notice that here I'm using a 2 times long saltwater ready hook. This works exceptionally well if you have fish species that tend to eat the back half of your fly. We'll also just use the first 2/3 of the shank just to position the hook, bend and point to the back of the fly. But the Gurgler can be tied on a wide range of hooks, so don't feel that you have to tie it on this specific style. Things to look for when you secure the hook in the vise is that the hook is level and then the hook point and the barb area is exposed. Also make sure that the hook is secured properly. For thread I'm using Danville's 140 denier. It's a thread that's quite fine and it's able to lie very flat. It also is very strong so that we can pull on that foam very hard. First step then is to attach the thread to the hook. Wrap a couple of wraps forward and then back over itself to secure it in place. Come in with a pair of scissors and just trim off the excess. You'll notice that I started the thread all the way here, halfway up the shank. So what we're going to do next is lay a thread foundation all the way to the front of the hook. Every now and then, once again, just open the thread by spinning the bobbin holder counterclockwise. Bring in your other hand just to stabilize the hook. What I do is I leave a small gap behind the eye of the hook. This helps that we don't creep forward when we tie in the material, as that's where we'll build the head of the fly. Once you reach that point, just open your thread again and wrap all the way back. It's good to have another fly to just measure and see how far your thread foundation should be. You still need to go back a little bit, covering about 2/3 of this hook shank. The first material we'll tie in is fluorocarbon. This is Seaguard 25 pound. I love using fluorocarbon because it's not that thick, but it's very stiff. So cut off about 6 inches and place the material next to the side of the hook shank. Leave about 1 inch facing forward and the rest facing here to the back. Now with a trapping wrap, just trap it to the side of the hook, and once you have it in position, just lock it in place. Now run your thread all the way forward, making sure you keep the fluorocarbon on the side of the hook shank. I stopped just short of where we stopped the first thread foundation. Now run all the way back again. Once you reach the back of the thread foundation, just make a loop in the fluorocarbon and secure the other section on the opposite side of the hook shank. Now you can just wangle and reposition this loop, and if you're happy with its placement, just secure the fluorocarbon all the way forward again. So what we do now, just to add more durability for this loop, is fold over the fluorocarbon tips in the front, just fold them back and trim them off with a pair of old scissors, not new scissors like mine now, and cover all the material. So what this fluorocarbon loop does, it provides structure for the tail, and it prevents the tail from fouling around this hook bend. Cut a bunch of white deer hair from the skin and just pull out all this excess from the bottom and all the shorter fibers. I also like to pinch it at the butt section here and just pull out all the extra long fibers. So I'm just left with a small amount of similar length bucktail. And what we want to do is create a tail that is about twice the length of the overall body. So remember, we're not using the full length of the shank to build the body, we're only using this small portion here. So let's measure that against that. That's 1, 2, right there. So this is where we'll tie it in, but we want to create a space for the material to be tied in. So we'll just use that little bit there. All that we're going to do is just trim it. So we have more space to work with, and we just trim a slight taper to it so that we don't create a bump. Lay it on top of the hook shank, and with a small pinch wrap just place it in place and wrap all the way forward. Now you can let go, and there's your tail in place. It won't spin around because you used the pinch wrap and then you secured it all the way to the front. Leave your thread in that position and grab 2 strands of crystal flash. So there I have 2 strands of crystal flash, and I fold it in half, as we're going to use 2 strands on each side. So then what we do is we create a loop, both strands are there, and we place that loop over the hook shank up to where the thread is, and we secure it with thread for a couple of wraps. Don't wrap it all the way to the base of the tail yet. All that we do now is just use a bodkin, split them, and just pull them to either side of the hook shank, of the tail rather, and then secure. That's an easy way to get the crystal flash tied in, and it's secured properly in this way. Now pull back on the crystal flash and just trim it slightly longer than the tail. Repeat the same process with a chartreuse or other colored bucktail that you're using for the top wing. Just going to go a little bit faster here. Now you can just measure it against the original tail. Cut it off. Cut a slight taper to it. Put it in position and just lock it in place. Cover all the material with your thread. This will also add durability. And there is your tail done. The next step is to prepare the foam. So cut a 2mm piece of foam. Here I've got white, about 3 inches in length and just wider than the hook gape. The front portion I taper, that's the front sort of ½ inch. I just taper as we'll tie that in. For durability's sake, we just add a little drop of super glue right on top of the hook shank. Take our foam and put it in place with the wide portion just in front of the base of the tail. Right there. So hold it right on top of the hook and come in with a loose wrap and go tighter gradually as you go forward. Now you can secure it properly. When going back, just pull it forward to see how much further you need to go back. Once you reach the base, just come in almost at a 45-degree angle and just cover all that foam to lock it in place. Now grab a large hackle feather. It doesn't have to be the greatest quality. You can also use schlappen. So here on this hackle feather, just remove all the fuzzy bits, the marabou bits from the base, until you're left with that. Now tie the hackle in with a curve, the natural curve facing inward. Just tie it in on the side of the hook shank. And once it's secure, just trim off the excess. Now wrap your thread all the way forward. And grab your body braid or other material you're using and tie it in with a trapping wrap right on the side of the shank and wrap all the way back to the base of the foam. Now run your thread forward again and just do a ½ inch. I'm going to bring in my bobbin rest. Just lay a thread to the side and wrap the body braid forward with touching wraps until you reach the position of the thread. Once you get to that position, just lock it in place with your thread and trim the material off. Do the same with your hackle and just palmer it forward in the same direction. You wrap the thread, making sure that you're not trapping any materials. Just going to use my rotary vise for that. And once you get to the thread position, just lock it in place with a couple of wraps and trim off the excess. I'm just going to stroke back all the material just to clean that area up. The next step is to fold this foam section over, but what we want to do is just stroke down all the fibers first. Pull them down and almost pull them to the back, and then bring the foam over and hold it in position and come in with your thread and just make a couple of wraps, loose wraps at first, and then as you get it locked in place, go tighter and tighter. Once you've got the foam in position, just pull the front flap back and just create a head right in front of it. This will force the front flap up, causing the fly to swim in the right way and giving the fly its great action. Now take a pair of scissors and just trim off, leaving about half the body length in the front. Now take a portion of that foam that you cut off, just cut a small piece from it, just something like this, put it right on top of that tying in point and secure it in place. This will basically become the structure where you will glue the front flap to, forcing it upwards. Once you're done with that, transfer the thread to behind the eye again. And finish the fly with a whip finish. Come in with a pair of scissors and just trim it off. If there's any other fibers that obstruct the eye, just trim them off. With your bodkin, just apply some super glue to both outsides of this post you tied in and just press the front flipper against it to force it up. This will prevent the flipper from facing too much to the front, and it will also give the fly a nice popping action. I hope that you enjoyed this fly tying tutorial, and if you did, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notifications, and we can let you know as soon as we release any future tying tutorials. Until next time, cheers!